Hello. My name's Hilferty, Robert H. US 52618-084. I served in Vietnam from 1968 to 69. 25th Infantry Division, Tay Ninh, Cu Chi, and all the surrounding areas. Black Jet Mountain I was on top of, and I was mostly on search and destroy missions 1 year. And this is my granddaughter, Mareis, and she's going to ask me some questions, and I'll be glad to answer them. If you have any questions, I can always come to school someday and talk to you.
How old were you when you were drafted in the U.S. Army?
I was 20 years old when I was drafted in the Army.
What were you feeling when you found out that you could go to war?
To be absolutely honest, I was feeling nothing. I never thought about it. Never thought about it. I was woke up in the morning. My mother said to me, it was a Saturday morning. My mother came in and said, "Robert." I said, "Yeah, Mom, what's up?" And she had a little tear in her eye. And I said, "What's up, Mom?" She said, "You got this in the mail." And on the envelope it said, "Selective Service." I said, "Uh-oh," I thought to myself. I opened it up and it said, "Greetings, you are hereby inducted into the United States Army." And they gave me a date to leave, April 2nd, 1968, and that's when I had to get down to 401 North Broad to get ready to go.
How did your girlfriend and mom feel at the time?
Very sad, very sad. My mother was sad, my girlfriend was sad, my future wife is my girlfriend. We went together, high school, grade school, we were together. We're still together now. She's right over there. But I had to get that in. Yeah, she's right there. But my mother, she was sad because I was the third. She had 4 sons. One passed away when he was a baby. And my 2 older brothers both went in the service, both taken away, drafted, and I was the third to go. So she wasn't feeling too happy about it. But as she told me before, you have only one thing to do to live in this country and be free. Give them 2 years of your life, the United States. And so I was given them 2 years of my life to draft.
When you got out, how did people treat you?
When I got out of the service or out of Vietnam, there was 2 differences.
Just like out?
Well, when I came over to Vietnam, they treated me like, and, I was spit on, yelled at, cursed at in San Francisco and other areas because they didn't think we were doing right. When I went back, I had to go down back to Fort Jackson. That didn't sound right, did it? But I went back to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, when I was done my service in Vietnam. But here in the States, when I was discharged out of the service, I was treated nice because you change out of the uniform, you put civilian clothes on, and you come home, and you never look back. That time of day, or year, I'm sorry, you grew your hair long, got a beard and a mustache, and fit right in, just kept your mouth shut.
Were you scared that something was going to happen to you?
In Vietnam?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always figured it's my turn to go, it's going to go. God's ready for me. I'm ready for him, right? So I went to Vietnam knowing that, and thank God he got me through. I carried a prayer with me the whole time. I went to prayer to St. Joseph's. Great prayer.
What were you thinking when you were on your way to Vietnam?
Nerves. You were nervous, but you had guys to talk to. You had some guys from Philly with me that were going over. And the plane ride, we took a plane instead of a boat. The plane ride was day and the night. We went to from Oakland, California, to Anchorage, Alaska, to Yokota, Japan, and the Tan Air Base, Vietnam. That's where we landed.
How did this change your life after you got out?
It changed it a lot. I was happy-go-lucky before I went in. When I come back, I was happy-go-lucky pretending. It's hard. It's hard what I had to do over there, and it's very hard to sometimes to live with. But I made my peace with the Lord, and we're good. I said, can't help. Sorry, but I felt sorry for my family who didn't know what I was doing, or I would just send home a letter, maybe a picture of me in front of a truck saying it was my truck. I wasn't driving a truck, but nobody will ever know. Well, they did find out. But
what was combat like?
Combat. The first time I was in combat, I heard rounds going past me. It sounded like bees or whip cracking over your head when the rounds passed you. And you didn't think much about it because you never heard it before. But it was very scary. You got down. You stayed down. And you returned fire. It was scary.
What was it like when your friends died?
That was like, it was terrible, because you spent time with these guys. You sat with them in the nights out in the jungles, talking about home, laughing, and and little by little you got to know them well, and the next day they could be gone.
What was it like living in the jungle for a year?
Not too comfortable. Well, we always had dark because you could sleep in the dark because there was no street lights or any electricity over there where I was. Matter of fact, I didn't see a toilet or anything for a year. Running water. No, I did see one in Japan when I went to Japan, but it was rough. It was very hot, humid, mosquitoes, ants, snakes, scorpions, you name it, they had them over there. Yeah, and they all introduced themselves to us. They would crawl across us, and rats were big too. Rats were big. They do. Go ahead.
What kind of food did they give you?
We ate sea rations. They were in a can, and they gave us a P-38. It's a little thing like this where you would open your food up, and they give you a little plastic spoon came with it, and you would eat that. But a lot of the stuff was very, 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 very bad. There's not enough berries in there. So that stuff we didn't eat. We would take them to the Vietnamese village and let the children have them. Because for them it was good. For us, we were Americans. We were spoiled. We had, food at home. But, I lived on fruit cocktail and whatever else wasn't that bad.
Where did you get your water at?
Waters came out of, well, if you left your base camp to go out, when the water ran out, you had to get it out of a river. When we come across a river, we'd hold our canteen in the river with your thumb in the hole, and you just let the water drain past your fingers because you could get a leech in there, and then you'd be drinking the leech. Be going down, and that's not good. And then you would put iodine tablets in the water to purify it a little bit. But, hey, you gotta live with it. Had to do it for a year, so you get used to it.
How often did you bathe?
Not very often. When we came in the river, if we were going to sit for a little bit or take a break, we could bathe. As long as you had somebody watching you, you get rid of your take your fatigues off, jump in the water, swim around a little bit, and then get out and get the leeches off you, and then put your uniform back on. But the uniform was dirty, so we got to bathe. Maybe I would say every couple of days, maybe it's 3-4 days if we found a river. Back in base camp, once we got back, we could get a shower, or if we were lucky, we had an Australian shower. It was a bucket, water in it, turn it on, wet yourself, soap up, turn it back on, and that rinsed you.
How many pairs of boots did you go through?
I went through 3. The fourth pair I wore home. They just rotted off your feet because of the rice paddies and all that jungle stuff, But I can laugh about it now, but back then it wasn't so funny. But I still feel sorry for the people that were waiting for me because they were the ones suffering, not knowing what was happening. Yeah.
That's it.
That's all?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope you buy my book.
Talk about celebrating the holidays in Vietnam.
Yes, I can. It's funny you asked. I was just thinking about that. Yeah. Thanksgiving came. I remember, I forget what day it was. It was a nice hot day. And I know it was a Thursday. The date I meant. That was my producer's thing. No. But I was there, and we were sitting there, hanging around, waiting for the chow to come out. They were going to fly us some food out to we were just outside of a jungle in a night lager position, and a helicopter dropped down. And who was on that helicopter? Joey Bishop, the comedian from Philadelphia, one of the Rat Pack, hung around with Dino and all them guys, and Tippi Hedren, the girl that starred in The Birds. So I was talking to them for a while, and after they left, we're just ready to get the food, and our sister company ran into contact, and we had a Eagle Flight, we had a fly out, Eagle Flight they called it, on the helicopters to get to them to help them. So we went out, instead of eating Thanksgiving dinner, we just shot out some turkeys. You know what I mean? But Christmas, they had a Christmas ceasefire. It was very nice. I was top of the mountain, Nui Ba Din, the Black Virgin Mountain, they called it. We held the top and the bottom. They controlled the center. All of that had tunnels and everything through it. And at night, the clouds would go around it. There'd be the top of the peak. The clouds would cover it. You couldn't see down the mountain. So every so often, we had to fire down there. Just, off and on, 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15, So they didn't know it was coming. But they said because of the Christmas truce, we weren't supposed to fire. So what we did was we took all the tracers out of our ammunition. This way they didn't know we were firing. And because they fired at us, we fired at them. But I remember I got a letter in the mail up there from my mother, and she told me my high school, Cardinal Doherty, they won the football championship that year. Wow, that made my Christmas. It was a fun time though. Enjoyed it. At least I got to eat something at Christmas because they had a mess hall on top of there, right? And they said we could get down there and get something to eat when you're off hours. And another bad thing about Vietnam is sleep. If you average 4 hours a night, you were lucky, right? So we were tired, but we were young. Went there 180, come home 127 to 130, right? Yeah, I had like a 27-inch waist, and I can't get that belt around my thighs today. So that's my story for the holidays. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
Tell me about a story or experience when you were in Vietnam.
Well, when I was in Vietnam, I worked my way up to be a platoon sergeant. When my lieutenant was hit, I took over a lieutenant for a while, but I was a platoon sergeant at the time. We were out on an ambush, and we were out and we were ambushed, and we shot it out the whole day, but it started, we found a communication wire heading off the side of the trail we were on, and I was going to go up and check it out, and my CO behind me said, no, don't go up, we'll send somebody from the next platoon. The person from the next platoon walked up and they blew the ambush down. The point man and the person that took my spot were both killed. Another guy was wounded. So we sat and we shot it out all day. Now one of the guys that was wounded was shot, was a young guy. He was there like 3 months, and he was shot, and he was shot through the head. And just a week before that, I had to take word out to him that his son was born. And at least he knew, he had a son, but that son grew up without him because he was over there. And I tell you what, it wasn't all fun and games a lot of times. A lot of times people died right in front of you. Sometimes you had to try to stop the bleeding. I tried to stop the bleeding with this one person, and blood was coming out, and he was asking for his mother. We put him on a helicopter, a dust-off they called it, to get him back, and he died on the way back. And it was just a horrible feeling seeing all this happen. And you bring that home with you. Like the sergeant told me when I first went into service, when I went over to Vietnam, he said, it takes a second to pull that trigger, but you live with that the rest of your life. And I can still see some of the faces of the people that I shot, and it's there forever. And thank God I got back, and thank God for taking care of me.